This is the World Cup station. Every game from every ground.
BBC Radio 5 Live.
What was your first computer like then? It was a BBC Model B, actually. I saved up with my paper round money, and I remember being very, very impressed playing an adventure game which had no graphics and just text. It would say, do you want to turn right or left? Go straight ahead. What was yours, Jeffrey?
I had a NEC, Nippon Electronics, and it was it had no hard drive. It had big floppies, when floppy meant floppy, and you had to load the system and then take it out and put the game disc in. But that's right, you had to say turn left, and I had like elves and orcs and dwarves, and it was so frustrating.
And that was still the most exciting thing.
Oh, your friends would all come over. You had friends you didn't know you had.
And if you're wondering who Jeffrey is, this is the American writer Jeffrey Deaver. Good morning.
Good morning.
And he still has the same word process.
Yes. I was about to say you've been asked to pen at 007's latest tale, but your answer to Nikki's question was so full that I suspect you don't you don't use a pen to do it anymore.
I've been asked to keyboard.
You've been asked to key it, yes, yeah.
Novel, yes.
So the new James Bond novel, big honour to do that?
Oh, an incredible honor. I have been reading the Bond books for ages. I hate to tell you, almost when I started reading. I was about 8 years old when I picked up the first book. That was in, I think, 1958. They'd only been out for a few years then, and have been reading them ever since. I read them in series the day it came out, and I, being a young child with an allowance, making $1 a week back then, I couldn't afford the hardcover, but my parents always slipped me a little extra money to pick up the hardcover.
And unlike the centenary Bond novel of Sebastian Fox,
right.
This one will be set. I know you can't tell us much about plot and what have you, but
Sure.
this will be set in the modern day.
Yes, set in the present day. Bond will be, of course, I can't say too much, but he'll be the secret agent that we've learned to know and love, and he will be traveling to some exotic locations, and the book will really be
Exotic locations.
Yes, it's set in London, for instance.
It's made for cinema, isn't it? All that stuff. Are you writing it with cinematic thoughts in mind?
Well, it's interesting you ask that. You can never tell if a movie's going to get made. My book, The Bone Collector, I thought would never get turned into a film, and of course it appeared with Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie.
Very enjoyable too.
But thank you. But one thing I do keep in mind when I'm crafting a book is to make sure that my readers experience it the same way they'd experience a film, and in this sense. And it's the same thing that Ian Fleming did. Very, very visual, very specific. Ian was a master of using the brand names, and not in terms of product placement, but simply because he knew that resonated with the readers. The books take place over a very short time period. They move quickly. There's what we call in the film business cross-cutting, so you see somebody's point of view shift to another person's point of view, and then race the story along to an exciting climax.
All very visual. Can I just interject one point here?
Yes.
I'm a bit disturbed at the moment. There's this calendar in our kitchen of Daniel Craig, right? Should I accept that?
Who put it there?
My wife.
End of story. It's there to stay.
And don't take that down.
I'm right, aren't I? It's there to stay.
No.
I know
Is it the beach shot?
You were looking at me when you said Daniel Craig.
There is a resemblance.
Thank you so much. I'm often mistaken for George Clooney too.
Will there be? Obviously, Bond is he's a cool central character. There'll be love interest as ever, will there?
Oh, there must be, of course.
It's not really love with Bond, is it?
It might be.
Oh, you might.
Stay tuned. You'll have
Is the girl incredibly attractive, or is she quite plain?
It-
Homely, as you Americans say.
If I say any more, you'll have to kill me. So.
You're very good at this.
We won't have to, but
Do you have a favourite Bond novel?
I do indeed. It's From Russia with Love.
Right. And when you, I mean, you may have already begun, but when you actually, sit down to write this, how difficult is it to sort of tread that line between sort of honouring and acknowledging Fleming and bringing yourself to bear as well?
It's very much like doing an adaptation of a book into film. You imbue yourself with the spirit of the original creation, and then you set it aside. You basically put that down and then do your own thing. I intend to bring Ian Fleming's brilliant sense of character and brilliant sense of creating a world of international intrigue to the book, and then my own trademarks, which are very fast-pacing surprises, twists, turns, surprise endings. I add that plural because I love that. I love to have those zingers at the end, and a great deal of research, which Ian also did, of course.
And do you know when we'll be able to buy it?
It will be out around the time of Ian's birthday next year, May 28th.
Great, thank you. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you so
We've
much.
got a zinger at the end now, haven't we?
May. Good morning. This is Today with Evan Davis and John Humphreys.
The time is 20 minutes past 8. There's always a lot of fanfare around a new actor to play James Bond in the movies. But for book lovers, the more interesting question is, who's the new Ian Fleming who'll write the next Bond novel? Last time it was Sebastian Faulks with Devil May Care, but the next one, it can now be revealed, will be written by the American thriller writer Jeffrey Deaver, who has sold 20 million books without assuming the mantle of Ian Fleming, best known for his quadriplegic New York detective Lincoln Rhymes. The Bone Collector was one book that was made into a big film. He's with us now. Very good morning to you.
Well, good morning. I thought for a moment you were going to compare me to Daniel Craig, and I was extremely flattered.
Well, congratulations on securing this contract. Are you a Fleming lover yourself?
Well, indeed. I began reading the James Bond books when I was about 8 or 9 years old. My parents had a very funny rule. I grew up in the Midwest in the 1950s, and their rule was that there were certain films I was not allowed to see, but I could read any book I could get my hands on, which was a bit ironic because the films back then, I guess in England they'd be PG rated, or we do that in America, very, very tame at the most. Books, however, pretty much anything went. So my parents missed that loophole, and I was reading the Bond books from literally 8 or 9. Now, I skipped over the parts that would be considered a bit risque and got to the action scenes immediately. But no, I have a long history with the James Bond novels.
There has been a big debate about whether there could be an American actor playing James Bond, but is there any reason why an American writer shouldn't or should be writing the Ian Fleming novel?
Sure. Well, for one thing, I'm a bit of an Anglophile. I have an Anglo-Saxon background. I come over here quite a bit. I have been doing so for many years. And I think ultimately a writer's task is to step into the role of the character he or she is creating. We need to bring all our skills of empathy to the task. We need to do a lot of research. I've had characters in my books who were, say, teenage African Americans. I've had elderly folks in my books. I've had women that I've tried to create as realistically as possible. So I think it's our job. We roll up our sleeves and we do what we can to make sure the book resonates for the readers.
Now, you've got this gig from the Ian Fleming Publications Limited, who look after the estate. Do they pay you, or do you pay them to write it?
I pay them. No. In this business, there's the phenomenon I think you've probably heard of vanity publishing. No, you do get paid for the work you do.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that, Jeffrey Deaver, and good luck. You've got a year to this day, which I think is Ian Fleming's birthday, to write the book. Also with us is Johnny Geller, who's a literary agent, the managing director of Curtis Brown. Good morning to you. Good morning. It's a good contract, clearly, for Jeffrey Deaver. Is it a good contract for Ian Fleming Publications? Is this a way in which they just keep this thing going forever and ever?
Well, I think it's very, very clever from their point of view, to manage to get the great Jeffrey Deaver to do it for them. But it's not a cynical act. I mean, they really do. The really good estates who look after major literary properties, they spend a long time working out how to keep the integrity of the work, because especially if you have a huge following like Bond, or in other cases like Winnie the Pooh, where there was a sequel last year, there's a lot of people ready to say this is selling out. So you have to be very scrupulous.
Well, is it? I mean, even if it isn't selling out, is it not better just sometimes to let these things reach their natural end when the writer dies? I mean, perhaps time moves on. Maybe we should just have a limited number of James Bond books.
Absolutely, time does move on. But the thing is, people, the job of the literary estate and the job of a publisher is to get new readers for great works. So I don't think anyone would complain that Steinbeck's work are in schools, or of Mice and Men, or To Kill a Mockingbird, two of the best-selling books in the country. I think that's good. I think we shouldn't. If you're talking about refreshing by reimagining, then should that mean that we don't have film adaptations of books or theatrical adaptations?
And so is getting Jeffrey to write a new Bond novel, is that going to be good for sales of the old Bond novels? It keeps the value of the whole franchise up?
It will completely refresh everything, actually, although, Penguin takes great pains with its backlist on Bond, but I think this can only, all of Jeffrey Deaver's huge legion of fans might now take a risk with Bond that they hadn't taken before, realising that actually this is where it comes from. Or
So his 20 million readers come over to Fleming, and that mutually benefits both sides.
absolutely.
Well, Johnny Geller, thank you very much, and Jeffrey Deaver too. Thank you.
Hope we